All right, so let's talk about it. We've got these two college tests. They're very different in what they do, depending on the type of student you are and your intended major and the type of college you plan to attend. You might want to target one more than the other, or like many students, you may want to take both, see which score is stronger, and then go that route with what you end up submitting. Let's talk about the SAT. The SAT is the Scholastic Aptitude Test, and this is a test that has 3 sections of 800 points each for a total of 2,400 possible points. This test is very strategy driven in that it rewards students who are able to figure out critical thinking skills to navigate the types of questions they tend to ask. So whether it's the critical reading section, or the English section where you've got grammar and sentence errors and improving paragraphs and all those sorts of things. And then, of course, the math section. There are questions there that are not necessarily the types of questions you're going to see on the ACT. The ACT is more of an achievement test. It is curricularly based, and it has much more to do with what you've actually learned in your classes. So when you think about an ACT, the thing to know is that there are 4 sections to this test. A perfect score on an ACT is 36. So very few students get a 36 on the ACT. Many more students are able to get a perfect score on an SAT than they are on an ACT. But even Harvard University and some of the major Ivy League colleges are more than happy to have a student come in with a 33 or a 34 on the ACT. The ACT sections include a science section. It also includes a math section that goes much higher than the SAT math. It goes up through trigonometry. The 1/4 point penalty on the SAT means that for some students it's going to be wise to skip certain types of problems. It may be in your best interest to just skip those entirely. If you keep in mind that the SAT scales from easy, medium to hard in many sections of the test, you'll know when you're getting into those harder questions and when it might be to your advantage to skip a question here and there. It's interesting to note that most students have this idea they need to clear their plate, eat all their vegetables before they get their dessert, so to speak. But the reality is that can hurt you on an SAT because knowing when to skip can grab you extra points, sometimes over 100 points just by doing that strategy. ACT, you want to answer everything. The science section is only 35 minutes long with 40 questions, and there are charts and more charts and lots of data. So if you're a student who has a lot of ability in what we call the STEM areas, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. If you are intending to go to a school where you plan to do a subject area as your major that is very much in that realm, if you are a left brain thinker, if you're very linear, the ACT might be a place to really show off your skills. SAT is something that is going to really reward the people who are much more, I would say, right brain dominant, very strong in the humanities, in language, much more vocabulary on the SAT, for example. Both tests have a writing component, so you are going to be able to write a solid essay no matter which test you do. Although there are some schools that will take the ACT without the essay, most of them nowadays do want you to take the ACT plus writing. So, SAT and ACT, 2 very different tests. The SAT has been around for 85 years. It's a much older test. The ACT was started in 1959 in Iowa City. It's a much more recent test. The South and the Midwest tend to favor the ACT sometimes. The East and West Coast tend to favor the SAT. Knowing what your school is looking for is going to help. So if you have a target school or a handful of target schools in mind, go on their websites, check it out. If you take a look in their admissions department, you're going to see information that will tell you what type of test they prefer or if they like to see both. Some schools will even take neither, and some students say, wow, that sounds like a bonus, not to have to do a test. But in fact, this is a wonderful rite of passage for you. Think of this as a wonderful challenge, an opportunity to show what you've been doing all these years in school, to demonstrate your best against the best of the rest of the students who are applying. And what we do recommend is a baseline for you. So you can get lots of materials out there. There are many companies that are putting out books with practice tests. Just go on Amazon.com or any bookstore will have plenty to choose from. Take a practice test in both. See how you do. If you get to at least a 28 on the ACT, maybe that's going to be something for you to think about, and then you can grab more points as you work with a tutor or teacher. At the SAT, if you can get yourself to 1900, 2000, feel good about that, and then you can work with a tutor or teacher to grab those extra points. If you're below that, don't feel bad. Just know that you might need a little bit longer for your prep time as you work toward your goal. So, 8 to 12 weeks is a typical amount of time, with 2 hours a week working intensively with a tutor to help you. So no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we want to wish you the very best as you apply to college. What an exciting time in your life. We wish you the very best in your process.
Stressed about the SAT or ACT? Don't get scared. Prepare. Visit www.raisemyscoreguaranteed.com and be placed with the best test prep tutors.